book of Genesis, you remember Joseph, he was his father's favorite son. He was sold into slavery by his brothers. He's taken off to Egypt, and there he begins working hard, staying faithful to God, and climbing the ladder until finally he is the second in command in all of Egypt. A famine comes, and Joseph has made provisions for the Egyptian people. His family from Canaan, they come back to Egypt to try to find food, and he is reunited with his family. The story takes up several chapters in the book of Genesis, and through it all, you can see that God is at work behind the scenes. Even though God is not mentioned very often in those chapters, as God's people, we read those chapters and we know that God is at work in that story. Just as God was at work in the story of Joseph, God is still at work in his people's lives. I love the beginning of the refrain of the gospel song, Blessed Assurance, that proclaims, "This is my story." We all have stories of how God is present with us in our lives. And over the next year, you will hear many of those stories. We'll hear those stories in worship, and those stories will be able to be viewed on our website and on social media as members of the May Memorial family tell stories from their lives. And they tell how those stories are different, how their lives are different, because we know that God was at work. If you have a story that you would like to share with the church family of how God has moved in your life, let me know, because we want to hear your story, the story of how God has been at work. This is my story. It's a theme for our year, and may we be encouraged as we hear how